And we're back with yet another episode of Full Disclosure with Christian Thayer. You guessed it, I am your host, Christian Thayer. If you are listening to me on Apple or Spotify or wherever else, thank you. If you felt so inclined to want to look at this face for the next 15 or so minutes on YouTube, that's cool too. Which I would like to say, over the past few episodes that I've put out, I have been able to look at the analytics on where you guys are listening to me, and it's becoming apparently clear that you guys are primarily listening to me, or I guess I should say watching me on YouTube, which isn't bad. That's the whole point of why I'm filming this. So with that being said, I'm going to be more aware of that moving forward for how I shoot videos and how I edit them. But don't worry if you are listening. Nothing really should change a whole bunch. Okay. With all that being said, let's hop right into the third episode, which is basically going to be going over the inventory and what it's kind of like out there for you guys based on what I've been able to find online. Now, if you are watching me, I am again at a different setup. Shocker. I'm just trying to figure out what works best for me. I am at my desk. I have my Big Mac on this, not the McDonald's one. Not sponsored just yet. I have a big desktop Mac on this side. And then on the right side, I have my laptop, which is hooking up all of my audio. So if I'm looking at my Mac, that's because I'm looking at the notes. So don't worry. I see you, but I'm just going to be looking this way. Okay, moving forward. The article that I'm going to be talking about today is a one in Forbes, and the title of it is basically how to make sense of today's U.S. real estate inventory. Now, clearly, this is not going to be Michigan specific. That's where I'm based. That's where I'm assuming a lot of you guys are currently at in the early stages of this show. So basically, the housing market, simply put, has gone insane. The person writing this is writing it down in Austin, Texas, where allegedly his neighbor's house sold for $40,000 over the $1 million asking price. Now you're probably thinking, Christian, that's like peanuts to a $1 million house. But what if I told you that that same house his neighbor bought in 2008 was $263,000. Now, I'm not great at math, but let's just say, what is that, four times, roughly, that the house grew in value. Now, yes, obviously, if you bought it at the right time in 2008, yeah, it's probably dirt cheap. And obviously, he's selling it at the literal peak, or maybe not the little, but currently the peak of housing prices. So he made a quick 700 and something change over, what is that, 13 years. It's not the worst investment in the world. And according to him, he says that yes, it's easy to blame that this housing market is due to exceedingly low interest rates. But according to him, it's a clear case of a mismatch between supply and demand. Prior to 2020, rents were increasing and pushing many states to develop rent control policies. So when the pandemic forced everyone to stay home, it only created a larger bottleneck of demand for homes with ample space. For example, city dwellers in apartments headed to the country to find a home with a yard, internet, and open air. Meaning many people that were renters for a very long time because of the pandemic and because of the ability to work from home, they're like, well, I don't necessarily need to live in a city. I don't need to live where I currently live because I don't care about commutes anymore. So therefore, I'm gonna go out and buy a house in the country and get away from everybody or wherever they wanted to decide to buy a house. As the story unfolds, we know what sort of happens, right? Where people are unwilling to basically put up their houses for sale because they're like, well, there aren't any other houses to buy, which only drives prices up. That's literally economics 101, supply and demand. There was a stat that said that it estimated that the rural supply of homes dropped 44% in 2020 due to high demand and many homeowners choosing to stay put. So where did all these home buyers come from? Well, more than likely we can attribute it to my generation, which would be millennials. So 25 to 40-year-olds that can finally afford to buy a house. Yeah, I'm looking at you, baby boomers, for doing this to the economy. Thank you. Like I said, millennials are the generation between 25 and 40, and they comprise an estimated 72 million people in the population, which is the largest group of potential first-time homebuyers in the country. And while millennials make up the significant portion of the adult population, in 2019, they had the lowest percentage of home ownership at 43%. And one could say that of the 1.3 million homes built in 2020, most of them were, you could say, starter homes, given the vast majority of young people entering the housing market. But new construction for entry-level homes has been on a decline for the last 5 decades, with 2020 adding only 65,000 new entry-level homes. Now, we're not even talking about the lumber shortage, which then means that the lumber prices increase. That's not even in here. Freddie Mac estimates that there is a shortage of 3.8 million homes as of the end of 2020. And after the Great Recession in 2008, really, that's what we're calling it? We're calling it the Great Recession? I mean, yeah, it was bad, but the Great Recession? 08? Anyways, new home construction dropped significantly. Since then, construction rates have risen, but the demand for new homes still far exceeds the supply. And you might imagine that the high demand for new housing would spark a lot of new construction for developers, but the rising costs of building a home may slow that as well. Copper, steel, gypsum, lumber, soft lumber, plywood, ready-mix concrete, blah, 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 have all seen record-setting price increases. And for the most part, these price increases were thought to be pandemic-related and therefore not long-term spikes. But it could still be a couple years before we see all of those prices sort of come back down to where they were and be normal again. Plus, there's also a theory out there, or, just like a thought process of like builders that were burned in the 2008 recession did not want to invest in speculative homes and now build primarily based on sales. Meaning they're not just tossing up homes thinking that people are going to buy them because they got burned in 08. Rightfully so. Lots of people lost lots of money in 08. So why history is doomed to repeat itself, so don't repeat it. According to the article, if we continue building at the current rate, there's estimates out there that say that we'll likely need at least 5 years to get back to a construction rate of 1.5 million new homes every year, which will then alleviate the demand and potentially lower prices. So basically what I'm hearing is that prices are probably going to be a little bit inflated for at least the next couple years until we get some new home construction consistently to be able to alleviate the 5 buyers to 1 house whole thing that we're dealing with, which is great news, I think, for you as a real estate agent, because that means, higher prices, higher commissions, more money, blah, blah, blah. You get it. But at the same point in time, that also is a very stressful time because, busy seasons prior to what we're currently dealing with, they were busy, but they were just busy. They weren't like stressful. They weren't like trying to be the best real estate agent that you've ever been because you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to get one deal done. And then it doesn't even work because somebody came in and offered $40,000 in cash above whatever the heck your offer was, right? I've been there. That's why I'm in an apartment right now and not a house, because I got beat out by a cash offer. I can't compete. Next thing on the list would be location. Over the last decade, many people have moved to other states. Obviously people move state, interstate, whatever that, is there even a term for that? They move inside their own state, right? However, especially now, because you don't have to live anywhere, remote work being a thing, moving to another state is on the rise, and 16 states have seen a population decline, with the largest decline happening in California. Insert your reason as to why you think that is the case. States such as Texas, Utah, Arizona, and Oregon saw net increases in movement. I don't know if you are aware, but it's been fairly common lately for people and as well as businesses to move from California to Texas. There's multiple reasons as to why, but that seems to be a popular destination for Californians looking to get out. And whether or not this trend will continue, who knows? But recently, we've seen one of the highest rates of employment resignation in decades. And no, this is not my way of saying that I'm resigning. However, that would be cool. I'm sorry, I don't even want to tease that with you guys. Um, I like what I'm doing. The way I see it, as the pandemic ends, people may not want to go back to the office. They don't want to go back to city life. And so they're like, I'm just going to become an Instagram influencer and I'm going to start a couple other side hustles. And I'm not going to work that 9 to 5 life, which I don't blame you. Working a 9 to 5 job is, well, to put it plainly, I don't think anybody is 5 years old and you're like, man, I can't wait to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day and do something that I'm mediocre about. I don't care. I get it. It might not be for all of us. It's probably not for all of us. And we're technically seeing that. I know that a lot of people, it's all over social media. They whenever their job tells them that they have to come back into the office full time, they're like, nah, bro, I'm out. And now, will that trend continue? We don't know. I think companies are going to have to figure out if it's worth it. If more and more companies keep making people come back to the office full time, and then they're like, wow, this isn't working, then maybe they'll have to lean back on that, which will then indicate that you might have people wanting to leave the state or not move into cities, maybe branch out. Okay, that's sort of the wrapping up of that as far as what the inventory is concerned. I do have one more thing that I want to talk about as I was looking for articles about what this episode would be on. This one caught my eye. I clicked on it so fast. The headline was nearly 1/3 of sellers admit to using spy cams during showings. Boy, when I tell you I clicked on that so fast. According to the article, 3 in 10 home sellers say that they've used a hidden camera during an open house or showing at their home, according to a new study of more than 2,000 consumers. So is this a worldwide national study? No. Is this a study of like 200 people? No. So, but 2,000 isn't a small amount of people. Take it with a grain of salt. The most common reason, according to the article, is that they cited nearly half of those who provided reasons is to understand what home buyers do and don't like about the home. That feels right. 36% of those said that they wanted to use the camera to gather information that could be useful during negotiations. I call complete BS on that. 23% of them wanted to see what their real estate agent was saying about the home. That one, I figured that one should be higher. Isn't that, that's why I would be using it if I was. I'm not. But like curiosity would just get the best of me, and I would just be like, okay, what are they saying? Are they saying like, do I like I like this, or I don't like this, or I wish this was different? And then, if enough people say it and I'm not selling my house, maybe I need to do something about my house. Anyways, the most commonly used models are doorbells and security cameras, and then what some might consider more common and widely used ones, such as baby monitors or nanny cams, those are less common. So think of like your Ring doorbells or stuff that's in like above garages and cameras and stuff like that. But most of those do record audio, as well as obviously the visual. More than a quarter of the buyers, so around 29%, who have used a real estate agent for their home purchase said that their agent warned them a hidden camera could possibly be used at the home showing. I am in that 29% last year, whenever it was, when I was looking to buy a house, put an offer or two in, but I looked at a few. My amazing real estate agent, before we went into one house, was like, hey, by the way, there's cameras in here. I don't know if they record audio, but just pretend like they do. Watch what you say, watch what you do. and we can discuss outside of the house. And as somebody that's fairly new to buying a house, at least by themselves, this was very eye-opening. I had never thought about it, but I was definitely aware of what I was saying, what I was doing. So I guess the whole reason why I wanted to bring this up is like, if you weren't already telling your clients ahead of time that like, hey, there might be a camera in here, watch what you say, watch what you do, we can talk about it outside or at another location, you should probably start. It's never a bad thing, because like whether a camera is there or not doesn't matter. It might be there. But if 33% of people selling their houses have some sort of camera or audio, that number is only going to go up in years to come. It's not a bad practice. Plus, maybe it provide a little bit more trust between you and the client of like, hey, I got your back. Don't do anything dumb. So that's that. If I remember correctly, as long as our schedules line up, I believe next podcast, so 2 weeks from now, I should be doing an interview with an agent. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I'm not 100% sure. Haven't necessarily locked in the details yet, but it's written in pencil. How about that? So stay tuned for that. Be on the lookout. Thank you guys for listening and watching this far. And as always, I will talk to you guys next episode.